Should we do a clap sync?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, cool. Oh, you got it? Okay.
I mean, we can do more. You can do a second one.
Yeah, do three.
Just whatever you need.
Grant?
Yeah, go.
3, 2, 1.
Whee!
All right. I'll bring it in here. Welcome to Thought Cops, coming to you live from the mean streets of Neo Chicago. I am Officer Kevin.
I'm Officer Grant.
Grant, I love that rendition. I love when you came in and helped me out. You dropped a sick beat.
Remixed it.
That was amazing, man.
Been listening to remixes lately. Do you know what Gen Z does? They're not actually doing this, but they listen to people that do this. This is because of TikTok. Oh
yeah,
you take a song that's already popular and you speed it up and you call it a remix.
Though that works. That's kind of like vaporwave. They just slowed it down, you know.
Yeah.
And I love vaporwave, so oh well. How's it going, Grant?
Fine.
Awesome. Let's give a warm welcome to a brand new guest to the show because we have with us tonight Zion Grassl. How is it going, Zion?
It's doing so good. I do need to ask, am I being detained tonight? Or am I just
one of these, another one of these?
Oh, does that happen? Oh no, I'm so unoriginal.
Another one of these.
All right, just throw me in.
Listen, just because you think that the only two maritime laws that apply to you are... Actually, I'm not going to go down that path. I'm not going to say on that.
Honestly, anything you would have said to me, it would have went right over my head. I would have just stuck my arms out anyways. So
you gotta
know your rights.
I had it easy. No, I don't.
I absolutely don't. Time that thought that he was a sovereign citizen, and he was telling me about maritime law and how there's only two laws that are actually laws that you can break, and it's murder and then like sexual assault sort of thing. Those are the only two laws.
You guys were talking about this at work?
Yeah.
Very healthy work discussion.
This is the type of people I work with.
Just killing the time.
Yeah.
You get bored, I guess.
One of the more normal people.
Yeah, just a little small talk. So, what kind of crimes have you committed?
Yeah, he was just going off. And yeah, I mean, I got stories upon stories.
Was it Starbucks, Grant?
No.
Okay.
No. This is, I may be employed there right now.
Okay,
so
I won't ask any further, but what I will do, I'm going to change hats here for a little bit because we have with us this evening Zion from Nintendo Life.
Oh man.
So I got my Mario cap
too.
on.
Who knew? I have a Mario cap, but it's like up in the rafters up there hanging on.
And speaking of rafters, folks, if you're not watching at youtube.com/thoughtcops, you can see Zion's amazing setup. It looks like basically
it's so much better than ours.
It makes our rooms look like crap.
Absolute garbage.
Sometimes I wish I could start over because like I'm at the point now where it's like stressful buying video games now because I'm like, oh god,
where do you put
it? That's a thing, absolutely. Yeah. And then like, oh, I only need 4 more games for my 3DS collection, and they're all gonna go up in price soon, probably. Ugh. So I mean, I don't know. Don't even go here. Don't even try it. Just
because you were saying you moved a couple years ago, and like I very much also have a collector's mindset, but I feel like that has dwindled over the years because I've moved so many times in my adult life, and it sucks to move a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So
I moved with all of it. Like I left some things like behind. Like I have a Nintendo Wii U kiosk from like a GameStop that I left at my family's house.
Yeah.
And sorry, I didn't bring that, but yeah. Otherwise, it was like I don't know, like 8 totes of video games, maybe 10. But it's also gotten worse since I moved here. Because I don't know. I just
you set up
don't
shop.
know people, so I'm just like, oh, I'm just gonna go game shopping today instead.
Well, it's your job now. You can use that excuse. It's my job to collect
write it
stuff.
off. It's technically a business expense at this point. Yeah. You should go to an old McDonald's and harvest one of those N64s that might still be at 1 or 2 across the country in Ohio.
I found one of those. Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 years ago. They had one with GameCubes set up. It was like it might have actually been in Illinois or Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They had some like Madden, and then they had Sonic Adventure 2 set up, and I was wearing a Sonic Adventure 2 lanyard when we found it, so it was just like melting my brain. But like, and that's what I live for though, is like walking into a place and seeing some old relic that like kids don't care about anymore, but us geezers that like love Mario hats, we do.
Absolutely.
I'm going to have to grab mine at some point. Now I won't right now, but I will.
I have a Luigi hat, but it's all the way over there. I'm not going.
That's great.
I feel that.
Thanks for the commitment.
Whatever.
I prepped you on this.
I put on all this. I'm in incognito mode. Look, hey, who do I look like?
I mean,
oh my God, he's the guy from the browser.
Yeah, right.
I was thinking he was like some kid like trying to fit in the back of like a metal show, or maybe even an EDM
also me.
show. Who's like, he's having a great time not talking to anyone.
That's also me. But no, that's not who I was actually thinking. What the neighborhood watch guy, but he's wearing like a fedora.
Oh yeah,
so. Never
Dude,
mind.
that used to scare me when I was a kid.
Yeah. Like he doesn't look like he's keeping you safe. He's coming for you.
Well,
exactly.
I think that was the point, right? He's the burglar guy.
Oh, I guess that's a good point. But it it feels like it should be a safe, like you look at it and you should feel safer.
That's what it's supposed to seem like. He's looking over you, but like I straight up had nightmares about that. And Grant, you are triggering me right now. I'm not even kidding. I remember 4 years old, I had a nightmare where that guy walked in the house and robbed us.
That guy does have a name.
Did it actually happen?
Yes. Well, in my dream, it happened. But
okay.
Yeah.
And do you guys remember the firefighter stickers that they throw in the windows too? To like
that's vaguely familiar for me too. Yeah,
a kid lives in this room or something. So like, better go break that window and get him out.
Yeah. The neighborhood watch guy's name is Boris the Burglar.
Whoa, what? He is a burglar. Wow.
Oh, okay. Because they're doing neighborhood watch because they're looking for a man in a fedora looking past his hood like this.
Because, of course, all criminals look like that.
That's what they look like. That's their uniform.
See, I always thought he was supposed to be like the mascot. Like, I thought he was like a private eye.
Oh, yeah.
That
totally.
sort of makes a little bit of sense, yeah.
Yeah. So
I didn't realize he actually had eyes either. That's actually scarier. He kind of looks like there's that one like Hanna-Barbera cartoon character that's like
I think you are thinking of like Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I wonder if that's where it's from, if the government just sort of this is ours now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they did with Smokey or whatever.
Yeah, the government is allowed to do IP theft.
That's what do you call that? Where you take people's land, eminent domain.
Yeah, something like that. They're actually taking Zwick from us, Grant. I don't know if you heard about that. But
thank God.
He's going to be the mascot for. They're opening a Raising Cane's, and he's going to be the mascot.
I have so much to learn.
Yeah. So we know Zwick, we love you. We love all the good work you've done for us, but Wait, hold on a second. I just turned on closed captioning. What the hell?
Ooh. Closed captioning for what?
Zoom. The fuck?
Zoom has closed captioning?
Apparently, yeah. It just says show caption, and I'm trying to turn it off now.
Did I turn? No,
it was me. I think I clicked something by accident.
I'm just going to close a little X.
Yeah, just close it out. But Xeon, speaking of your amazing collection behind you, I see you've got like a Ness, big Ness plushie back there. That's amazing. Oh man, that's so sick.
I don't know if he's going to stay, but maybe he'll just take a nap there for a little bit. How's that sound?
And you've got, I see Majora's Mask back there. Pikachu's. Man, we got a lot to talk about because I wanted to mention you work for the YouTube channel Nintendo Life, and I am a big fan of you guys.
Thanks, man.
Every time there is a Nintendo Direct, I'm like, I can't wait to hear what those guys over there have to say about it. You and Alex and Felix. And then, hey, you know what? We planned this episode weeks in advance. Lo and behold, by complete coincidence, there happened to be a Nintendo Direct as of this record yesterday. So I wanted to ask you, I did watch the video, but I wanted to ask you one-on-one. We'll drop the bullshit of all the pleasured whatever. I just want to say, what did you think about pleasantries? Thank you,
pleasured whatevers.
Well, the nice thing too is that we always, when we record our discussions, which we always like, whenever a direct happens, without fail, we're always recording one and getting it up within as quick as we can. Last night, like because of the 2 p.m. direct, it took us a little bit longer, and there was so much to talk about in there too. Mm-hmm. And I think, we don't always get time to reflect on it because we're speaking about it so fast. But I still think that there was a lot of cool stuff this time around. Like I loved, there was that new game called Deca Police that got announced. Level 5. And like, that's what I want to keep seeing new IP and just weird ideas from these different companies. Cause it feels like too often now we just keep getting the same like franchise just spit out over and over again, or like a spin-off in that series. Like, we talked about a new Hyrule Warriors game coming out, and that made me want to like vomit on the spot because I'm done with that.
No.
So, like I think this Direct I think it catered to a lot of like classic players because it gave us all this old stuff that we haven't, that we've been wanting for a while. Like we didn't get any Snowboard Kids like your shirt says.
Damn it.
But hey, it could happen. I mean, they at least made that shirt recently, so that's.
I know. I'm like, hey, fingers crossed. Are we getting a Snowboard Kids revival? God, I hope so,
dude. Our editor's been playing Snowboard Kids actually. Like he lives in Europe and he bought the North American N64 cart because it runs better than the 50 hertz one. So I mean, dude, he's right there with you on Snowboard Kids.
I'll be real though. I like Snowboard Kids, but man, that is a janky game. I played it a few years ago again at a friend's house, and I'm like, I mean, I love the music. I love the art style, and it is pretty fun. It's one of those games I remember renting from Blockbuster like maybe 2 or 3 times as a kid, and then like going back to it, I'm like, again, I appreciate the charm, but I'm like,
that's sort of how I felt about Conquer last time I played it, because that was like when you're a kid, you're like, oh my god, they swear in this game, and it's like this holy grail, and then you play it.
I wasn't allowed to play it for that reason. So
yeah. Me neither.
Dude, I rented that game, which this is a long story, so I'll keep it short, but I convinced my grandma to let me rent it somehow. I think she they always ask like, oh, like, are you okay with this? And grandma wants to be cool. So she was like, yeah, it's fine. Whatever. But then I got to the point where like you're jumping on a flower's boobs because flowers have boobs.
Yeah.
Girl ones do in this game. Right. And, I was playing in the living room, like, anybody could walk by and see.
And that big CRT or whatever.
Yeah, probably.
The family TV.
It must have been.
Right.
Yeah. And I wasn't even allowed to play in the living room often either because it was the family TV, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was playing on that TV and like my grandpa or my mom or I don't know, somebody saw me and then they took it away. But I did
yanked it right out of there.
I do have like a good memory of at least playing it for, I don't know, an hour or something. But
it is very janky. It's not a great platforming game. It's
I wonder if it still holds up. Because like I did play when they re-added Banjo-Kazooie to the Switch like a year ago. I replayed that, and like to me that game is still a 10 out of 10. I fucking love that game.
I think Banjo is still solid. I think because Conquer you only have like 2 buttons, and it just it feels clunky. It does not feel as good.
You can like attack and you can jump and like you can hover, I think. And then you have like that action button that lets you do like
you get an action button, and that's the only thing that does anything.
What I do because I played it like maybe when I was like 19 or 20 for the first time, and I remember the motif for they would switch up a lot. Like you turn it into different things and do different stuff. And I just remember this one part of the game where I turn into a bat, and they just don't tell you what to do, and I'm like.
Right. Or like the
thing is like the game's constantly changing. It's like
it's just like reference after reference. One of them's like it turns into like Saving Private Ryan, and it's just like an impossible game. It just like it does not control very well. I think you would be very disappointed to play it. It's very funny and very comical and weird.
I mean, I very much appreciate it for what it is because it's like Rare had been doing mascot platformers for like so long at that point, and then after a while they're like, we're just gonna like make fun of this and make fun of ourselves and just like,
great. I'd love to see like a re-release of it. Bring it back to its former glory. Maybe do a sequel.
Well, on Xbox, like on Series X, we have Rare or even just regular Xbox One, I guess, which I forget that's even a thing now. But Rare Replay, like they spruced it up there a bit. But I haven't gone back to play that version. And I think, talking about the jankiness too, I do remember the frame rate being really jarring, especially like in comparison to something like Banjo, where Banjo is just such a smooth experience and the worlds are all so like colorful and even like that game is still always giving you new abilities and making it fresh, where Conker's gimmick is like, look at like we put the Matrix in the game and like there's the alien, like the xenomorph. Wow.
Yeah, for sure.
Expect that. But I would have loved to play it fully, like as a kid, I think too, or even just like get those references too, or see like kind of like you said, like do a Conquer in like the modern age now with new like jokes and trends and stuff. But
so sadly there was no Conquer sequel announced for the Direct. Grant, did you watch it? I'm sure you must have seen like the announcements on Twitter.
No, I just wait for you to tell me.
right. Yeah. That's how this works, Dion.
Because of a separate chat where it's just like video game news.
Well, no, it's not even that, because
they talk about it in the Discord
anyway.
and I just like mute it because I don't want to see all that. I don't care.
You sound like my partner. Gosh.
He's like, Grant is basically my nagging wife. He's like, I'm excited about the Direct, and he's like,
wash your hands before you eat dinner.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to wash my hands. Are you kidding me?
Disgusting.
So yeah, there was no, I don't know. Well,
I did like the Direct though. I did like it. It felt like there was so much that catered to like longtime game fans, I think, but not in a way that like we got excited. Like it was so many remasters and stuff, like I thought about it more. Like I'm so glad that Ghost Trick, which was like a DS, like
I was familiar with the art style, but I never played it.
And I've never, I shouldn't say I've never played it, but I think I downloaded, there was like a demo on mobile years ago and I tried it out there, but I just fell off really quick. And it's like $130 complete in box game on DS now.
Oh god!
So I'm stoked for people to like have a potentially $20 option for that game now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just felt like the presentation was remaster after port after just it was just a lot of old stuff. But Level 5 brought a lot of really cool things. Like it was nice to see the Fantasy Life series is coming back from 3DS.
Yeah, there were some people in our Discord that were like freaking out when it got announced. I wasn't familiar with that series, but
sure.
Can we have a rundown of what is this? What are we talking about? I don't.
Oh, right.
He's pretending
I'm
like
a layperson.
We went on Drink a Beer and play a game. We talked about the Direct the last time it happened.
Yeah, and I didn't pay attention at either.
Well, why did you go on this show?
I don't know, to promote.
You're like, I don't care about this. Listen to my podcast.
We're all striving to succeed in this capitalist society, and whether we like it or not. And I'm just here to tell jokes.
Well, Grant, the big ones were.
I mean, you brought up Conquer already too, so that was nice. But you're right. Yeah, Pikmin 4.
Yeah, looks amazing.
And I never was super into Pikmin either, but like the new like camera angle, the music sounds like it's just very relaxing. And like, I want to go lay in a field of grass while I listen to it. And the dog, like it doesn't have a nose, but it still looks cute. Like you still want to adopt it anyways. It's weird. At least I do.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it because it's like, it's been so long. I mean, over, let's see, I'm checking the calendar. Like I have to check my watch. It's been about 10, 11 years since the last one.
I have a calendar on my watch.
That's awesome, man.
It's fine. Wait, so does it look good? Because I have, I never played Pikmin 1, and then what was the one that came out for Switch? Was that 3?
Dude, you honestly, I recommend that one highly. Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I played it because I played it on Wii U. I played it on,
I was going to borrow
it,
and then people were like, it's like a very short game, and I was like, well, fuck that.
Well, Grant, you can borrow it from me for free.
Maybe.
Dude, that's the best part about physical games.
Exactly,
like,
yeah.
Do you remember that commercial when like there was that PlayStation commercial where it was like Shuhei or somebody like from PlayStation was like handing a physical game to like another employee at Sony, and they were like, "This is how you let your friends borrow games." Back when like Xbox was like all digital, you can't share anything anymore. Like,
and then nowadays we have a digital only PS5.
Back in my day, we used to have Digimon Digital Monsters. Those were the champions.
We still do. They're just not as cool. I still love them, but
they're still making. Are they still making Digimon games?
Yeah. They came out with
I know there's an anime
trading cards still. Yeah. There's actually like a Digimon festival happening in LA in like 2 weeks. Actually, speak of the devil. Like,
are you going to that, Grant?
No, but one of my TikTok videos one of my TikTok videos that still gets kicked into people's algorithms is I did like a modern day Digimon, and it's like Ty saying like, Agumon, where are you? Elon Musk is trying to purchase the entire digital world, and Agumon goes, I can't. I've turned myself into an NFT. People are like, yeah, I need more of this. I only made like one.
That hurts, but in the best way.
Grant, you could have probably got a press pass for this thing. Like, I'm the guy from TikTok who did the Digimon video.
See 19,000 likes. Yeah.
19,000 likes, pal.
You're a Digimon influencer.
You're gonna hear from like the creator of Digimon. I don't know who that is, but you're gonna wake up to a bunch of emails.
Mr. Digimon. Well, it's because it is like a niche that like nobody's making. Like everyone's doing modern Seinfeld. Everything's if Seinfeld had Twitter, if Seinfeld had AI, how about if Digimon had Twitter
to deal with the horrors of the digital world and in this, because like back then the internet was cool, it was mysterious, and now it's like we're trapped, like we're
it sucks.
I love like
us. It's like
anime and games sometimes. Of like the late 90s, early 2000s, like right behind me, Serial Experiments Lane is such a great series because it's just like on the cusp of like, ooh, the internet's mysterious and weird and crazy.
It's this whole other world, and it's just full of possibilities and potential. And now it's just like, I guess I pay $8 for Twitter now.
Yeah, they left that out of the lane. I guess that episode must have got cut.
Yeah, and now you can just like have you remember when like Mario Paint was cool, and like you or even just like I don't know, Microsoft Paint was cool, and you could draw like these terrible pictures. Well, now you can just have the internet make a picture for you instead. You feed it like 3 words, and it goes, I can work with that.
Way easier. But what did you think of Zelda? Because I kind of like I've been like going back and forth in my head how I feel about it, I guess, and I feel like people have been like, I'm in a group chat, people have been pushing back on it.
How do you feel? I'm curious to hear.
Tell us how you feel, Kevin. Take a seat, sit down.
Yeah, it looks like that chair reclines, right? Yeah.
About that far.
That's good.
Bring the microphone with you.
Yeah, I was gonna say not good for audio, so I'll sit forward.
Okay.
But I don't get me wrong, I fucking love Breath of the Wild. Amazing game. I love the Zelda series in general. I don't love every game. I don't love every game in the series, but most of them
he's a big Minish fan. Minish Cap fan.
Minish Cap. No, I haven't. I want to go back and play it now that it's on Switch. But
I was gonna say
I did play a little bit of Link's Awakening last night, and that's an amazing game. But the one thing, because like, people draw the parallels of like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. They're reusing the same assets, a little bit later.
Link loses his arm. He's in the midst of hell, and he has to take a sword, a blunted blade, and
perhaps
slice his arm off, and then he replaces it with a mechanical arm. I mean, no one's ever done that before.
But like, I feel
Ganon is Link's dad. What?
That's a twist. Oh, he's got the inside spoilers. Oh crap!
Shoot. So sorry. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, Zwick, cut that out of this episode, please. No, but I think like, okay, so the game in 2017 when it launched, it was Nintendo's first open world game, Zelda's massive big world, and I remember people complained at the time of like, oh, I'm tired of seeing the same enemies a lot, and it was like, okay, it's kind of to be expected at that point. And then when the new trailer was showing a lot of like the moblins and the bokoblins and stuff like that again, and some new ones, I was kind of like, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more new than some of the same enemies again, I guess, which I do expect them to some degree. And I also like, I just wish we knew more about what the game is at this point, because I don't want to know everything, but like we still don't know what the plot is necessarily. We know there's a bunch of floating islands in the sky. Maybe that's Ganondorf. They haven't even said, is it Ganon? Is it Ganondorf? It's just a screaming skeleton guy, basically.
Here's what I think is going to happen. You're going to say, yeah, I don't really know how I feel about it. And then the game's going to come out, and maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after, you're going to be like, yeah, I didn't really know how I would feel about it, but I think I've sort of come around to it. I think I sort of like it. And then like 3 months later, you're going to be like, yeah, it's okay. Like, I don't know. I sort of liked it more at first, and then whatever. And then like 3 months after that, you're going to be like, no, I mean, I think it's still good. But then 3 months after that.
Grant, am I like this?
I don't know. I
was going to say, like, I'm getting self-conscious. Like, is that how I am?
Maybe.
Oh my God.
I mean, I'm definitely in the mindset where I'm kind of burnt out on like the Breath of the Wild world. I'm still stoked for Breath of the Wild 2 though. Or Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. It's so hard to not.
Foolish.
But I do see what you mean though, because right now we haven't really been given like a whole lot of like concrete evidence to really like know what makes this game so much different. Like, yeah, we know there's things floating in the sky. There's Banjo-Kazooie nuts and bolts elements now. Yeah. Zelda might die. Link's arm is gone all Princess Mononoke, and like he
loses his eye.
It goes that far now too. Goodness,
Jesus.
I have to watch the trailer again. Grant's like really one up to me there on that one. So
I'm just goofing.
Oh, I know. Me too now. But you know, it's a
comedy podcast, guys. Come on.
I'm not going to be the funny one on here. Yeah. But it's time. What if we just keep laughing so much that we all die right now? God, that'd be so funny.
At the end of the day, it's not a laughing matter because, you know, it's serious business, Zelda.
Yeah, and a lot of people are complaining about it's like a $70 price tag, but what I'm really upset about is the fact that I spent 3,000 rupees and 30 bundles of wood on my house, and it better fucking be still in Hateno Village when I get back.
Oh, that's a good point.
Ugh. I have a bad.
I'm not building another house.
I never made Terrytown. Like,
you did?
I just never. Yeah, like I made my house, I think. But then I like never found all the people, and it's one of those things where like it's kind of an excuse to like go back to the game, like, oh, like I've never 100%ed Breath of the Wild, you know, and like I'll always have something to do, but then I let my mom borrow the game, and then my partner let a friend borrow her copy of the game, so now we actually don't even have one in the household anymore. But I'm not proud of that. So I wonder. Like, do you think the game will use save data and like check up and see what you've done? Like, I don't know. There's all these cool things that they could be doing with Tears of the Kingdom, but like Kevin's right, we just don't. There's so much we just don't know. Like, what is the selling point of this game here? And I think it is like it's nice that we don't know a lot because I think it was really nice. Yeah, like it was nice to go into Breath of the Wild and find like these weird side quests and find a shrine in a place that you never considered and talk with your friends about it and share all those details. And I mean, they've been spending enough time that I think I just trust that it's going to be okay. But it does kind of suck to feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like a blind trust. Again, like to bring up the Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask comparison, Majora's Mask was like they had the same assets, but it was a completely different world, different like dimension or something, like just completely different.
It was like characters. It was like they picked up Ness and they just plopped him in like this fever dream world that nothing else was the same. Right? Yeah. You're totally right.
It was his Odyssey. It was Link's Odyssey. But
is that coming out too?
Yeah.
That's going to be sick.
DVD? Maybe
that's,
VHS? A game, not like a Greek film, right? I get you.
Well, people are want Mario Odyssey, but they're not getting it.
A statue is what the Greek Link. Anyway, so it's interesting to me though that people are the exact opposite about movie trailers than they are about video game trailers, because movie trailers, it's like, don't tell me anything. I don't want to know a single thing that happens in this movie. I don't want to know who's in the movie, so that when someone's on screen in the cinema, I can pull up Wikipedia on my phone and go, oh, is that the guy that played Voldemort?
Well, the nice thing with a good movie trailer, which I just like, because I've had a lot of those complaints myself too, is like the good thing with the thing with a good movie trailer is like so much cool stuff happens that I think for me, I like just black out. I just forget all of it. And then I like remember like, oh yeah, I want to see that movie or hopefully I remember.
Yeah. I avoid them mostly. For movies, but for a game, it's like, it's a whole, especially for a game like this, like I must have put 120 hours into into the Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, nice.
And for this new one, it's like I want to know: am I going to be going to the same places? Is it going to be different? It's like just like
are you only going to put 110 hours into it?
Sad to say, Grant, but perhaps I don't know. I have to have more information.
Is there something that you want? Like what is it? I'd have to think about this myself too. But what is it that you want to know without knowing too much? Like, is there something that you think would sell you on the game, I guess, better? Or
I mean, that's a good question, because like I don't even know like what exactly I want from it. I just know I want it to be like different enough, and if it's like just the same overworld with like also there's stuff in the sky, that would be kind of like, I don't know.
Maybe this is kind of like when, like a friend tells you that they like have a surprise for you for your birthday, like 2 months in advance.
Yeah.
But then they give you like no details, or they like breadcrumb you things like every 2 weeks.
Exactly.
Or it's like a year in advance birthday, and they send you like a message or a photo like in the mail once every couple months. And
then on top of that, they say, actually your birthday present's coming next year. We couldn't get it this year. Oops.
So sorry, but it's going to be amazing. You're going to love it.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. I'm like, thankfully I pre-ordered it before the price hike.
Nice. Yeah.
So I'm getting it at the normal
I'm just going to shoplift it. You can just go into Target and shoplift and they won't prosecute you until you've stolen enough for a felony.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard some Targets actually like don't carry video games now because of that was an insight. Yeah, it's just
they got them behind that like glass now. You got to knock on there and get somebody to help you.
People just buy keys on the internet, from what I've heard, and they'll just like go in. And I mean, I guess you shouldn't be surprised about that. But
is it illegal for me to tell people to steal? Am I not allowed to do that?
Well, you are a thought cop, so I don't know. It's your world, man.
It's very confusing with the level of satire and irony on this show.
Grant, should people steal from mom and pop shops and put them out of business?
Yeah, absolutely. There are also filthy capitalist swine that need to be put in their place.
That is not the answer I was expecting, but just it's comedy, right?
Yeah.
Ding.
Grant, how do you feel about patreon.com/thoughtcops?
Oh, it's great. It's the best website.
Like Robinhood, right?
Robinhood.
We don't need to deal with anyone.
The app or the person?
That's what I think of the app now.
That's
I'm
the
like
person.
Yeah, I was also thinking the app. I was like, that's not great, but
yeah, my bad. I'll have to come up with a different reference. Peter Pan looks like him. He doesn't really steal things, though, does he? But
speaking of looking like Peter Pan, though, Link and Zelda. I'm excited for the game. I'm going to get it. But yeah, I wish I knew more. But yeah, I just want to pick your brain because, like I said, I watch your guys' channel.
No, I appreciate it. Like I love. Obviously, I'm on a channel that just talks all the time, so this is great,
and we're used to it over here.
Yeah, we mean about 80% of what we say. I think maybe. What else was talked about What else was in the Nintendo
Metroid
Direct?
Metroid Prime remastered.
Yeah, I haven't played that.
You should, dude. It's so fun.
I will.
It looks good. Like it's better than I thought. We did my coworker Alex put together like a comparison video between the GameCube version and the new one, and that like Samus's armor doesn't have like as much of a shine, which sounds like really nitpicky, but like the GameCube version specifically, like Kevin, it was so impressive for back then, right? Like and I think I don't know. I think it's just me being whiny, but that isn't as fine in this new version, Grant. But like everything else looks like they're calling it a remaster. So I think I went into it expecting it to just be like Nintendo spit on it and like wiped it with a rag and said, here you go. But it looks a lot better than that in other elements. Like they rebuilt certain assets and redid textures, and it looks good.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about with that shine. I feel like that's something that like certain games have that like, I don't know if that's just like the limitations of certain technology and it looks a certain way. And then when you recreate that, it's just like, but it doesn't have the same feel. And I don't even know what that is to describe that, but it's like that like 2000s-y, almost sort of cell shady like aesthetic.
You're right. Like a Gran Turismo car or something. Maybe.
Yeah.
A Ridge Racer. I don't know. Didn't play that many racing games, but
back then, like the key to realism was just make it shiny, you know? Because they couldn't do that before, you know, Polygons, N64, PS1, you couldn't make them shiny.
That's true.
Super Mario Sunshine was definitely shiny. It had like a shiny
game
aesthetic. There was a brightness to it, and you know everything after that.
120 of them to be specific.
Everything after that is just dull and lackluster in comparison.
So yeah, I mean, I still think it looks very good. I haven't seen the comparison video. I know they've been popping up here and there, but I mean, I see like the one thing I saw was there was I think somebody who used to work at Retro posted on Twitter today where he's like, they fucked up the doors.
Yeah,
his whole job was to make the doors look good. when he worked on the first game, and then he's like, they fucked them up. The doors, they didn't do the right thing with the doors.
Which that does suck, for sure. And hopefully, like, I mean, it's Nintendo, so hopefully they'll like take some things into account and fix some stuff up. But you're right. It's not making everyone happy. The port isn't. I
mean, at this point, it's like anything could be better than like that GTA remaster they did a year or two ago.
Yeah,
right.
Like I just saw like that clip of like the rain when like he's riding his bike in the rain, and just like the whole screen is just like, it looks like a white noise, like static noise.
And it just looks so like ragdoll-y. It doesn't, I don't know. It's like they just picked all these characters up and these assets, and they just plopped them in the real world, and they kind of spit and shine certain things, and it just doesn't, for Grand Theft Auto at least, right? It just doesn't look good. It doesn't run the best, especially on Switch either, which doesn't make any sense because it's like,
right.
Like, I don't know why.
Game?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I totally get the fact that like they basically took the better versions that they made and then they tried to put them on Switch. But like at that point, like couldn't somebody at Rockstar have just been like, do you guys think maybe we should just like actually put the PS2 versions on Switch instead, and like people would be happier?
Yeah,
but
I agree with that. Those would be, because I hate like busting out my PS2 just to play that, and like my controller's a little bit goofy, and it's like and then I have to like do the HDMI to RGB cable switch thing, and it's like this is more of a pain in the ass. So it would be nice to have that game on there, and it's not, and so I just go, well, I guess I just never have to play that again.
I suppose that is a gift and a curse in a way then, is that you get to play other things instead of Grand Theft Auto. So
yeah,
try out new stuff.
Yeah.
Speaking of new stuff, I wanted to ask you, when do you think, I think this is a question that's been on a lot of people's minds lately. When do you think the next system is coming out? Like the successor to the Switch?
It's weird because right now, in the Direct that we just had, I should probably fact check. Like, I wish I could fact check myself before I spew this out of my mouth, but I feel like
it doesn't matter.
We didn't. Well, and I just, I haven't gotten to do it yet. And it popped to my brain earlier today, I think, but I don't think we got a lot of news about things that are coming out later this year. Yeah. Or often it feels like we do. Like this whole Direct really felt focused on spring and summer of this year. And so that kind of has me wondering if Nintendo does have bigger plans for the end of the year. And maybe that's why they've held off on showing us some stuff. Like even Metroid Prime 4, like it's been, I think it's been 4 years that Retro's been working on that. And all we've seen,
even 5 or no, they've started over. Yeah.
But like all we've seen is like a little like Twitter header image of like Samus standing like in front of a ship or something. And like, that's cool. But like, that's not even that seems like it was an accident, like that they uploaded that. And, so yeah, I want to think that Nintendo is ready to put out something better, because especially like you see these developers struggling, like even the Pokemon company struggling with Scarlet and Violet.
I know, yeah.
Like Legends Arceus or Arceus, whatever, was a really fun game, but it had so many like graphical flaws that like you had to force yourself to like look past to like enjoy the game.
Even like the simple game like Kirby, like some of the enemies would like stutter and like if they were far enough.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I think like it is imminent, and it's like, it's been 6 years, I think, as of this month since it came out. So yeah. I think like, honestly, if like my guess is like, I think they're waiting until Zelda comes out in May, then over the summer or fall, they're going to be like, hey, Christmas season, we got something coming, you know?
Yeah. It is weird too that, like, speaking of that, if they were to hypothetically release a Switch Pro or a Super Switch or, Switch 2, I don't know, whatever they're going to call Light Switch, and they release that, and it has to play Switch games. I feel like so many games have come over that it just has to. But it would have been really smart of Nintendo to release Tears of the Kingdom at $59.99, $60, and then they come out with a fancier version for the new system, and that's $70 instead. Like, because otherwise, right now it doesn't really make.
I mean, maybe they'll do it at $80, but
oh boy,
because I feel like that's usually sort of what happens. Is they're like, hey, we got this game Twilight Princess for the GameCube.
Sure, I guess right.
Twilight
it came out
Princess
on Wii
for
first.
The Wii. Did it come out for the Wii first?
Yeah, it was a month earlier, because the Wii came out in November of like 2006.
Weren't those games? I feel like what's the difference though? Because is there a difference in like how they developed the game and like what system they decided?
Kind of.
Because Is it sort of like a thing where it's like, okay, we developed it for the GameCube, but then it's like, but then we do this, but then we sort of retroactively degrade it somehow?
Yeah, because you are right though, Grant, because it was announced for the GameCube for a long time, but then because the Wii was coming out, the GameCube didn't sell so well.
A couple different games, and I think specifically Zelda games are always like right on the cusp of whatever.
Breath of the Wild. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, like at I think it was at when they first showed it off, it had a map that was like going to be usable on the gamepad. And then I remember I demoed the game at E3 in like 2016 or something. And we were all playing on Wii U's because the Switch wasn't announced yet. And the gamepad, like I don't remember if it wasn't like a black screen, but it just had like some basic image. And we were like, a lot of us were just really surprised that there was no implementation anymore because they had to keep it the same, or they wanted to keep it the same between both versions. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
Probably not make the Wii U version better in some ways than the Switch one. But yeah. I don't know. To answer your question, I would love, like, I think new Switch hardware should happen sooner than later, as long as it doesn't affect the people that have already bought Switches. I think that's right. Like, because otherwise I'm like, if Nintendo decides they want to come out with a Switch 2 and it cuts off a lot of like access to certain games for players, then I'm like, no, I just want to stay where we are. Like, because
you don't think it's going to be like
a good place? I think
you don't think it's going to be like an NES to Super NES kind of thing.
I hope it isn't. I don't think it will be. I think Nintendo would be like, I think they'd be a really dumb decision if they did, but I wouldn't, like, I'm not Nintendo, none of us really know what they're going to do. So
I wish I was sometimes.
What would you do if you were the king of Nintendo?
If you were Mr. Nintendo.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
You're signing checks and signing Kevin Nintendo.
I would probably make Mario my best friend. I would have them do remakes of all the EarthBound games, Mother games, and I would.
Now you're just kissing up to me and Ness at this point over here.
And that's actually, I want to bring that up though, because you made a documentary called "The Mother We Share, Our EarthBound Story," and I actually I watched this for the first time today. Actually,
no way, really?
Yeah. Because I had it like I saw it like because it came out like last year.
Yeah, I mean it's long though too, so like I don't expect everyone to actually watch it, but we released it on Mother's Day last year, actually, which was really I bit myself in the butt in the end because it like meant that I had a specific deadline that I had to reach, but it really worked out in the end. I was really happy with it. So
hey, if we can sit through a 3-hour long Super Eye Patch Wolf video about how Mother 3 is the greatest video game ever created of all time, then we can.
I guess an hour is not.
This is only an hour. We can sit through.
I've watched some long video essays before, so no worries there.
Kevin sat through what's the Garfield one where the guy recites like an incoherent monologue for like 3 hours.
I've
watched Lasagna Cat. You've watched that multiple times. Yeah, it's like 2 hours long.
Yeah, it was an hour and a half, 2 hours long.
Like every once in a while, you're like, sometimes I just like, every once in a while, I just got to sit through the whole thing.
It's so fucking good, dude. It's one of the best things on the internet. It's this video of, are you familiar with Lasagna Cat, Zion?
I've seen some weird Garfield stuff on the internet before, so I don't know. It
was like the first of that kind of thing. And basically, it was like this group called
It's been going on for a couple years now.
It's been long. It started in like the 2006, I want to say.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. A
couple years. Yeah.
I don't mean like it's been around for 2 years. I mean like it's been around for a while.
That's what a couple means too.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you.
It's not like one of the really badly animated Garfield videos with like a text to speech audio over the top. Is it one of those?
No, it was like they would take these like Garfield comic strips and then they would dress up in these big goofy costumes and reenact each one in like live action, but then it would like show the panel in its original form, and then it would like switch over to a fully produced like music video using a different song like 9 Inch Nails or
make like a video game parody. One of them was like what was the one video game?
Final Fantasy VI.
with Garfield and stuff still.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what?
It's so fucking awesome.
Oh my God. So it was I've not seen this.
It was in like 2006. And then they had a resurgence maybe like in 2015, 2016 or something. And they came back with like, it was even higher budget, way, because these guys do commercials and stuff, I guess. Fatal Farm. And the last one they did was this comic strip about Garfield stole John's pipe. And the comic is just John going, now where could my pipe be? And then you cut to Garfield, and he's like sitting there smoking. It's like one of the first Garfield strips ever, and he's smoking, John's tobacco pipe, and that's the comic strip. And then it cuts to this this fucking like hour and a half or 2 hour long video of this guy giving like almost like a college lecture on like the philosophy of this. It's something you have to see though. It's long.
It's something you have to sit through at least 3 times in your life.
It really is, Grant. And yeah, Lasagna Cat. It's all to the song of
Grant sounds like he's spoken with experience with that.
I think
right?
you've definitely put it on a number of times.
I absolutely have. So it's
and then we never sit through all of it, but Kevin always has to mention I've sat through this a number of times.
It's a Medal of Honor.
The best people in life honestly have some pretty messed up videos to show you, I've learned. So I would trust that. I think it's fine.
But it has like this like Philip Glass music playing in the background the whole time, and it's just like so fucking, I don't know. If anyone's listening out there, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend checking it out. But that being said, enough of the Garfield stuff. I wanted to talk about the Mother documentary. And I also wanted to ask Grant a question, because Grant, you were playing EarthBound for the very first time recently, and then I asked you like, hey, we're going to talk about EarthBound on the episode. Are you still playing it? And he said, no, I just beat it for the first time.
Well, I actually played it for the second time recently, because about a year ago I started playing it for the first time. And then it came, like, by the time I got towards the end, it came out for the Switch, and I was like, oh, this is much better. And then I stopped playing it. And then I started playing it for the Switch, and then I beat it recently. It isn't that good of a story, but that's how it happened.
But it ends well though. You beat it, and that's nice, because it's a long game. It's punishing at times, so I never would blame anyone for falling off the game.
It's not too bad. I mean, in terms of overall I'll use.
You're right. It's not like Dark Souls. It's not like it just requires time and patience. I think.
Yeah. Which sometimes I'm just in the mindset to just do like hit the button and whatever.
Just grind some battles out.
Yeah.
I also wanted to change my hat too. If we're going to be talking about
perfect.
EarthBound,
Kevin, I hope you don't have a third red hat sitting behind the camera.
I hope he does.
No, Grant. No.
Could you imagine if there was like a Mario convention at the same time that there was like a Trump rally? Like a bunch of dudes dressed up as Mario wearing red hats, and
that's definitely a joke.
Sort of like
That does sound like a skit. Like that.
Yeah, Grant, that's definitely a joke nobody's ever made on the internet.
Has anyone done has anyone done like a fully like a sketch of that?
Well, let's find out.
Like a full video, not just like, oh, haha, here's a tweet I'm gonna fire off. Everybody's already come up with every idea. There's no ideas.
If I type in Trump Mario on YouTube, am I gonna regret it?
Maybe.
No, it seems pretty safe. That's good.
Anything?
We're searching Super Mario Trump rally. Nothing yet. No, Grant. No, are you going to make it?
Maybe.
This could be your magnum opus. Quit writing that book.
I'll store that right next to the Digimon TikTok.
Right
Those will be my two things.
The Digimon convention, after you go to that, then you'll find another convention to go to, right? Because you're still going to go to that for me, I think. I think earlier you said yeah. But
I'll go to it, yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. Okay.
I know my tickets might be kind of expensive this, short of notice, but
true. But
you're still going to go, right?
It's worth it. Yeah.
I'll sell my monkeys.
Your expensive NFTs, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, those are cool. Worth something.
Well, I don't want you to have to get rid of.
Yeah, those are precious and valuable.
things you really care about, in life, digital goods.
Now, Grant, I wanted to ask you though, what did you think of the ending of EarthBound?
It was fine. Like, what specifically about it?
Like, what did you think
of it? I won, so that was
you won.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what did you think of the tone shift at the end?
How do you mean? Like, the screen got like an acid trip, sort of?
Like, what did you think of, like...
That was fun.
The lighthearted sort of, like, summer vacation feel of the game to, like, you're inside of this giant demon uterus or something and you're fighting the...
I mean, I feel like that's where it was inevitably heading, and I mean, that's also just sort of... I don't know if I would say that the game's necessarily like a lighthearted, like there's definitely like a boyish charm to it, but also there's like a weird sort of psychedelic flavoring with a lot of the weird background shit. And also there's like weird philosophical stuff just sort of like spliced throughout the game when it comes to the, what's it called? The Moo training. There's that. There's the Stoics Club where... They talk about envisioning the end of capitalism.
That's like the mirror. Was the Stoics Club the mirror world sort of thing?
No, that was in Summers.
Yeah, there was like this building with people for a Stoics Club, and that just was for the humor of the game. I think is like one of my favorite things about the game is the humor.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like every NPC you talk to in that game, it's like entertaining. It's not just like, I heard that there is a cave and you can go in there and then maybe there's a sword.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that there's that sort of like weird current that runs throughout the game because it is very like, it's children with psychic powers, psychedelic imagery, some weird little nods to certain philosophies throughout certain things. Certain characters represent certain like weird archetypes. And I mean, by the time you get to this boss that's like this formless, shapeless incarnation of the concept of evil that inhabits, the worst person it's very it makes sense.
That was a nice word soup that you just cooked up.
I'm full of them. I went to the Culinary Institute of Linguistics.
I'm just drinking Grant's word soup out of my Mario hat.
Give me a bowl of that.
That soup in Odyssey, that purple soup in Odyssey. I want to eat that.
Looks so good.
It does. I don't know what that is, but it looks... I would eat it.
Video games have good soup. Do you feel that the way that you viewed the ending of EarthBound then too was skewed by the internet at all? Like, had you seen pictures of like the final boss like throughout years?
I have a hard time believing that you called it all, Grant. This is the same thing I'm
not saying I called it all.
The Mulholland Drive situation.
Oh, we can talk about that if you want to. I didn't call it all. I said that it tracks. I don't really read about like video games and stuff.
But cultural osmosis, you must have seen it at some point. Maybe I've mentioned it.
What, just like what the boss looked like, or what the boss
or like just
was
like just the sort of like what it's like. Yeah,
I'm just saying that it tracks with the rest of like the game's aesthetic. Like, it's a very weird sort of psychedelic game, and I'm into that type of stuff. And so by the time it got around, I wasn't like, what? Why? How come it's not?
You're like on the same level as like EarthBound's creators. Is kind of like, and I'm not saying that as a joke either. I just mean like you were just like, oh yep, all right, that's where my head's at anyways.
I listened to a lot of Terrence McKenna tapes to fall asleep to, and I was like, that's the incarnation of total evil. I get it. It makes sense.
Grant, I would love to. I think that you and Shigesato Itoi should sit down with a nice cup of coffee and discuss philosophy.
Yeah. See, I don't know who that is, but
he's the creator of EarthBound. God damn it!
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. I can say for me that I think when I got to the final boss, I didn't feel the impact of it as much. I think its dialogue really messed me up for a day, but I think just knowing already what like Gygas looked like didn't really like scare me or really, like if I would have been playing it as a kid, I think I would have felt differently, or even just, without expecting it. So I that's why I was curious too, if that had an impact on on his ending.
I mean, yeah, I'm also a 31-year-old man that's read a bunch and has watched a number of movies, and
so you're not scared of the dark anymore?
I mean, a little, but that's just normal.
Do you feel like sometimes you watch a movie and you like can just predict what's going to happen, and then you get bummed out because you're like,
that's what he said about David Lynch movies. He's like,
I didn't say that at all.
Well, what did you say?
David Lynch movies are predictable.
Zwick, pull the clip.
What will you tell me?
No,
what you said
I made a very poignant criticism of it that I think fell upon deaf ears and made it sound like I was diminishing it. I think it wasn't necessarily my thing, but I think that I would have liked it more if I had watched it in college, because I think like a long time ago I was very interested in like the subconscious mind and like dream sequences and stuff like that. And by the time you hit 30, you just kind of don't care about that anymore, because you're thinking, hey man, reality is pretty weird. We don't need some sort of like a break from reality to explain reality more. Like you could just do reality, and that's pretty weird. And
Frank, can I ask you a question?
In my head, yeah, what?
What do you like? What do you enjoy for fun?
I like a lot of things.
Like what?
I don't know that though, actually, Grant.
Name one.
Name one thing. Yeah. What do you want? Like a TV show?
Anything, anything. Anything you enjoy.
Anything?
Yeah. One thing.
I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard I try.
Deflecting with humor.
I like deflecting with humor.
There you go. There we go. Okay. That tracks.
So what? You think that my criticism is invalid because I'm inherently a negativistic?
Maybe that's the thing, actually, is because the ending of EarthBound has like no humor at all. It's like it's so different than the rest of the game. So maybe that's why you were just like,
Like what in your head do you think that my come aroundance to the ending should be?
I just thought you'd be like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Okay, that's all I wanted to hear. Now we can move on.
That was it?
That was it.
We just wasted 20 minutes.
We didn't waste 20 minutes. You were
so difficult, Grant. You could have just said that from the beginning. I would have been happy.
Why do you just want just the answer that you expect?
Because you had to be difficult.
That's life,
Well, you
Grant.
asked a specific question, and I gave what I felt like was a very specific answer, and then there was pushback.
No, and then you dodged. You're like, I don't know. I think it tracked.
As to invalidate. No, because you said that I said that it was predictable, and I did not say that it was predictable. I said that it tracked in line with like the overall aesthetic of the game.
You didn't literally say it was predictable.
The game is about psychic children with psychedelic imagery with undertones of philosophy. By the time you get to the end, and the big boss man is just like the incarnation of evil that inhabits the universe, that is this like formless, shapeless, like questionable, just material or immaterial being that like just is the very like that makes sense. I'm not saying I predicted it. I said it makes sense. I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
And it was pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, it was fine.
No, that's not the same.
I liked the game.
Fine versus pretty cool. Fine is like,
This is like me in 5th grade, just being like, yeah, I don't know, Pokemon is cool, and the teacher being like, it's cool.
I played Resident Evil 4. It wasn't that scary in 5th grade. Yeah, whatever.
I didn't play Resident Evil 4.
Grant, I could see you also being the kind of guy who goes to a scary movie and he's like, yeah, it didn't scare me.
Listen, Kevin, I'm the kind of guy that laughs at a funeral, and if you don't understand what I mean, maybe soon you might.
It's unreal.
No, I don't like scary movies because they're too scary, actually.
They're too scary.
But like,
is that an okay answer? Am I allowed to be too scared by scary movies?
You're allowed to be. I'm honestly surprised, though.
I want that like Phoenix Wright courtroom like interrogation music over the top of this right now. This
Zwick, add the interrogation music.
You make up you decide what sounds interrogating and put it over this entire section of the show. But we got derailed for a little bit. I just wanted to know
what. Tell us more about.
Let's talk about the documentary Mother We Share, our EarthBound Story. You had a lot of great people in this. You had Scott the Woz. You had the guy who created starmen.net. I remember that website from back in the day. You had fucking Toby Fox, the creator of Undertale.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, a lot of great people were in there. And it was just a lot of great stories of people discussing, what the game means to them, how they discovered it, things like that, I also, maybe you could have got Grant on there and he could have been like, yeah, I started playing it, then I stopped playing it. I started playing it, and then it was fine.
Kevin, have you watched Stranger Things?
Yeah, I've seen the first season.
What did you think about the reveal of Vecna? Did you think that made sense in terms of the overall story arc?
Was that in season 1?
No, that was in season 4.
Well, I didn't see that.
Well, I expect a book report. And I want to know whether or not you were expecting who Vecna's true identity ended up being.
Now I'm expecting to have something offbeat happen.
Because, same thing. I mean, it's kids. They have psychic powers. It's a weird 80s story.
How dare you compare the two? First of all, how dare you?
I mean, I've heard people compare Turning Red, the Pixar movie, to EarthBound before. I think one of the creators was inspired by EarthBound. They in an interview came out and said that, but I've never heard Stranger Things compared. I feel like
everybody is inspired by EarthBound, and that's actually something I wanted to bring up. Is I'm writing an article for Hard Drive, their Minus World, where it's just more of research and opinion kind of stuff. And I'm writing an article right now about EarthBound as a retrospective, and also about how there are so many EarthBound likes, which Undertale is one of many now. And I think it's interesting how EarthBound is a game that was, at least in America, not a commercial success. And then nowadays you see so many games that are inspired by EarthBound, So just to pick your brain on the subject, and maybe I can quote you for the article. I have a source right here. It's in a podcast episode. I can just link to my own thing. What makes EarthBound so special to you specifically? Why did you decide this game is so great, I'm going to make a whole ass documentary about it?
Is it your favorite game? Do you have a favorite game? Is this it? It's this
hard.
Why?
I am the kind of person that definitely jumps between, like when Breath of the Wild came out, I loved it. And now I don't, when I see artwork of Link from that game, I just want to see something else. So it's,
I kind of get that. Yeah.
I think time does something to you. But I think EarthBound it's special for the fact that it's this weird game that nobody back then seemed to have wanted, right? And when I was a kid, I remember, and I can only speak for myself in this, but when I was a kid, I wanted to play with games that let me wield swords and let me drive maybe fast cars and fly on dragons and use magic, and
the ultimate male fantasy.
Right. And EarthBound just doesn't let you do any of that. Well, I mean, kind of. It lets you go on these adventures that you look at the game and you think well, I can just already do that in real life. I can hit a trash can with a slingshot. I can grab my baseball bat and break my grandpa's window if I want. Yeah, he's going to get mad, but I can do that. And it's not until you get deeper into the game that you really realize. And I think that you really realize that there's more to it. And I think as a kid, when I was a kid and I played Pokemon games, I remember talking to everybody because I always wanted to see if somebody had an item to trade.
Yeah.
Right. Or if they or a Pokemon to trade, or if they had an item to give you or something. And I think EarthBound does this thing that you were talking about earlier, Kevin, is that you want to talk to everybody because not that they have equipment and new party members to, join your team, but because the writing is so ridiculous and so real at times that you actually as an adult are curious about what they have to say because it's just so witty or so stupid. And it just feels like I think Reed in the documentary actually put it really well, that it feels like there's a part of the creators' souls in that game. And I think there's not a lot of games out there that necessarily feel like that. You can dig in any game and find bits and pieces and influences from the people that made those games. But EarthBound really spells it out for you. There's there are Beatles references in those games. I know it's the game is based on in North American culture for the most part, but Americans were obsessed with Beatles back in the day too. There's all sorts of references to different media. And
Blues Brothers.
Yeah, exactly.
And quick side note though, like I went to Japan in 2019 and I was at a bar.
Whoa.
And like I you know, some people like knew like minimal English and they were like, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'm like, "Chicago." Like, Blues Brothers, you know?
No way.
Yeah. So it's like,
actually, that's cool.
It's like apparently enough of a touchstone there to be like, okay, Japanese people know what Chicago is because of the Blues Brothers. And then of course there's like the Runaway Five in Earthbound, you know, at least somewhat inspired by Blues Brothers.
Yeah. And you're right. Like if you were like visiting, I don't know, if you were out in Florida or Colorado or I don't know, anywhere, if you're anywhere in the US and you tell them that you're from Chicago, who's going to, like in the modern age, who's going to say Blues Brothers? So it's cool to know that they really like that they still care about that and that they were able to like latch onto that and inject it into the game.
Exactly.
And I think that is my favorite part of Earthbound is it feels like there's like this special like club that you get to be a part of when you play this game. And not in a sense that like you're better than other people. It's just that you like Reed also explained this in the documentary, which I edited it. So like a lot of those thoughts have just like filled my brain, taken over my brain. But other people that have played Earthbound, like you get it is I think what Reed said. And it's in the sense that like, it's fun to talk with somebody about, I don't know, like if you both grew up playing Croc, Legend of the Gobos on PS1 or something, like you might have a bond of over loving this little green lizard thing. But with Earthbound, there are so many different elements that you can capture and talk about. And for the fact that it was a cult game too, I think that's really what's so special about it too, is that Earthbound wouldn't be the game today if it didn't have that like loyal group of fans behind it either, at least in the West. Like,
sure. Yeah.
I can't, it just feels like none of us would have played it without like Reed and all of those people that just talked about it with their friends and didn't let it die. And that's what I love about Earthbound so much is the community and the wackiness. But yeah, what were you saying, Kevin?
Because I mean, Earthbound came out here when I was so young. I didn't know what it was or play it when it came out.
I only knew about it because of Smash Bros.
I was gonna say a lot of people know about it from Smash Bros. And like I didn't realize until like maybe a little bit later, but weirdly enough, my first introduction to the Mother series was Earthbound 64 because I had a Nintendo Power subscription when I was a kid back in like 1996 or something. I remember being like, there weren't many Nintendo 64 games out, and it was like any new one that was coming out, I was like so excited for. And they had a game in there, it was like Earthbound 64, and it was like this, what would end up being Mother 3 on Game Boy Advance, but it was originally, I'm sure you're well aware.
Please. Yeah,
going to be an N64 game, which in a weird way, I would love to see an alternate reality where that is a thing, because the N64 games have their own charm, like the haziness, the low polygon of it all. It's very kind of ominous in a weird kind of way. But that was like, I was excited. I didn't know what it was, but I thought like there was like big purple hippos in the screenshots, and I'm like, this looks funny. And like Mr. Saturn looked funny. I'm like, okay, I want to get this game. Never came out. But then Smash Bros, like Grant said, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Ness? And then I ended up like, I think I knew a kid who knew what it was, and then it ended up being not till high school where I played it for the first time. I borrowed a copy for Super Nintendo, and it's like, was easy to get into because it shares a lot of DNA with Pokemon.
It's cool too, because once you know how to play, like Pokemon or Final Fantasy or something, like you pretty much can grasp Earthbound.
Yeah, and it's like the difficulty curve starting off is not excruciating.
Weirdly enough, I feel like the hardest part of Earthbound is the beginning, because when I went back and played it, when you get to the boss at the arcade, what Frank, I think his name is.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Frank. It might be Frankie, but yeah.
Forever to beat it because I was like so underleveled. I had to grind, and the rest of the game I didn't have to.
I think the first time, and the second time I was like, well, I just know that I have to grind. But also, like, if I'm starting to play a game like that, it's because I'm seeking it out because I am in that grind set mentality. I got to get that bread.
I played it like years ago on 3DS, like over the course of like an entire year, I think, because I was just traveling with, like, every time I would like go on a car ride or something like that, when I was a passenger, I would play it. And but then when I replayed, I played like maybe like a third of Earthbound again to get footage for the documentary. And I did that first fight again. And I got completely wiped, but then I remembered you can go to the store and buy gear, and then it was fine. So like, but you're totally right though. Like the game doesn't tell you to go to the shop, and it doesn't force you to go there before you can fight him either. You could take him on and then get creamed or grind. But you're right. It doesn't really do a good job of like lending the player a helping hand to make sure that they stick with the game either. And maybe that's why they made that big strategy guide too. But
yeah, and I mean, that's just like, I think RPGs in general at the time were, video games in general were a lot more cryptic back then. So it's harder to, they didn't spell everything out for you. So I don't fault it for that too much. But just in general of like the response, like Mother 1 specifically is like a very clever, we talked about Conquer earlier. Like Mother 1 is a parody of like, your Final Fantasies, your Dragon Quests, which I feel like it takes a lot from Dragon Quest specifically.
Yeah.
The menus, like the battle format with like you're looking at the enemy head on is exactly like Dragon Quest. But of course, it's like instead of like, shields and swords, it's baseball bats and yo-yos and kids with psychic powers. So,
and a lot of that, again, I think too, is like the sort of Western influence. And I think that they're probably borrowing a lot from like, old like 50s movies and stuff like that. And like weird, like little Americana sort of like parody also is sort of like all entwined in that, which again, I think is sort of like what leads to like this sort of like unique fingerprint that the game has, where it's like there's so many levels of, again, the weird psychedelic lore and then this weird like level of Americana. It is sort of like a David Lynch film in that way, if you think about it.
It's quite Lynchian.
Yeah. It's absolutely so Kafkaesque.
Weird. I learned that like Link's Awakening was inspired by like one of the creators was watching a bunch of David Lynch stuff.
Yeah, Twin Peaks.
Back then. Yeah. Like how weird is that?
Yeah, I think that, and I think Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, like, because I think they were inspired by like how Twin Peaks has like a lot of these interconnected people in this town, and there's like this thing happening, and you can kind of see that in those games in a way, which is cool. Again, like it's cool to see what permeates like culture over there that we make here,
Yeah. And that's actually, now that we're talking about that too, maybe that's one thing that makes Earthbound and like the Mother series so special as well, is the fact that Shigesato Itoi, the director, is detached from Nintendo. He's his own person. Like he voiced, I think, the father in the Japanese version of the Studio Ghibli film My Neighbor Totoro.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's got like a column that he writes, I think, in Japan. And I know so little about him in comparison to what I imagine a lot of like hardcore Earthbound fans would know. But it's, he opens himself up to, explaining his background and his influences. And you really get to learn about him as a person, where, like we learn these little things about certain Zelda creators and the people that make Mario and all that. But it feels like Nintendo kind of still like hides them in a sense to maybe like not share the secret sauce. But with Earthbound, like there's no restraints. You can just kind of, you can dig in and like, you'll find a well that never runs dry, it seems.
I mean, Itoi was like sort of a celebrity in his own right before any of those games. So it's like, people already
feels so weird in America here, but like to know that, but you're totally right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think, have there been any celebrities in America that have made games? I mean, I know there have, but I'm
Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, Michael Jackson, like, but I can't think of anything else offhand.
Yeah.
But you're right. It doesn't happen often. Like even now we have like Elden Ring with I'm blanking on his name.
George R.R. Martin.
Yeah. But like, I don't know if that counts as a celebrity, but it feels like.
In a way, I would say so. Actually, I would say it's kind of because Itoi is a writer and so is he. So kind of makes sense.
Sure. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, like, so now that they added the Game Boy Advance games to Nintendo Switch Online, do you think that we're finally going to get to play Mother 3 officially in America?
So the interesting thing, I'm really glad you asked, because I haven't gotten to talk about this much yet at all. And I
know you're itching to.
Yeah, thank you. So I don't know if you noticed this, but when Nintendo finally released Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings on Nintendo Switch Online, they put it out there with like an actual direct segment. They didn't announce any other games. They just announced those two, and maybe there were more later. I don't recall, but those two had their own slot in the showtime, right? Mm-hmm. And And so there's that. But then also Nintendo on their YouTube channel, they put out a specific video highlighting Ness and like his past and what Earthbound and Earthbound Beginnings are. And they had it fully narrated by somebody who did a great job and actually like understood the task. And even the person who wrote the script for that did a solid job of just like not making it lame. And you could tell that Nintendo,
not saying that it stinks or whatever they did in the 90s.
Exactly. And like,
have you seen that, Grant? The player's guide and the advertising for Earthbound?
No.
They had this like scratch and sniff stuff that like smelled like poo and pee and stuff. And it was like, this game stinks.
For children?
Yeah.
They were doing that for children?
That's right.
I know. Thankfully, they don't do that anymore though, right?
The straights are at it
kids
again.
Are safe now.
Right?
Well, and it's like you point out, real quick though, you point out in your documentary though, Dion, is like that was sort of like what it was like in the 90s. It was ew, gross, but you know,
which is hard to remember. I mean, we're all like, I was born in 92 and I feel like we're all like similar age at least, but it's funny how that was just a thing and it's not necessarily anymore now. Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe
I think it's just, it's different. Stuff, there's a different aesthetic and there's different like
nowadays there'd be
logos.
There'd be a TikTok dance.
Totally.
Yeah, Kevin would be over here hitting the freaking gritty, but back then he was doing the Peter Griffin bump. But
I mean, the cool thing about TikTok dances is now, like 20 years from now, we can like force our like nieces and nephews and stuff to be like, hey, why don't you do that like that dance you did when you were like 6 again? And they'll be like, God, I hate you. And maybe they'll do it if we're lucky, but we get to be those people now and like make them do dumb stuff.
Hopefully it ages like milk.
We can only hope.
Cultured now. Last year aged like milk.
Last month.
It's going too fast, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right.
So to answer your question, so I feel like Nintendo has been putting, when they talk about Earthbound, it seems like they really care about it these days. And I'm not trying to like, oh, I love Nintendo, I mean, it is your job, but also I do appreciate you guys are very unbiased. So I do want to say that you guys are very like unbiased because like a lot of, people comment on this stuff and it's like, oh, everything is good that, happens. But like, I do appreciate listening to you guys and you're like, this maybe not so good. Like, Alex's review of the latest Pokemon game was the first time I was like, ooh, boy, maybe I better think about this again.
Bring out your famous character, Tug's collar.
I was like, ooh, boy. And that's the whole character.
And that's the thing, right? Is like we talk about Nintendo all the time. So we obviously like, we do love it, but yeah, we have to be hard on it. It's like wanting your kid to grow up and like not be a shit bag. Like you just gotta tell them when they're wrong. And
but you were saying though, like,
oh sure. But I feel like Nintendo, like they even, I don't know if you saw what they, on the My Nintendo website, which I love it so much because it's basically like the spiritual successor to Club Nintendo, where you used to be able to like do pointless surveys that you would fill out whatever. Like I never really cared about them, but I would fill out all the surveys to get the coins and you would spend them to get cool stuff.
I'm sure I have like some like free prize around here somewhere. I had like a Pikmin bag.
Is that what your hat is? Your Mario hat from that? Because that's what mine
actually
is.
Grant's from Amazon.
Grant bought this.
Yeah, Grant really? That's a gift from Grant?
A different podcast we did.
Our Wario and Waluigi, we tried to coordinate with them and do a podcast crossover.
Yep. To resounding success.
Dang. Yeah, it was good.
So Nintendo, like they on that My Nintendo website, they put out an Earthbound luggage tag that you could order. That they also did this in Japan and Europe, I think, as well. And they also put out like an Earthbound notebook that was called like 8 Melodies, which I believe.
And that was for America too.
Yeah, they did it in the West.
I was going to say Japan always gets the cool stuff, but
right.
You know.
And it has it comes with a little like the luggage tag is of like a Mr. Saturn robot, and it says Earthbound on it. Like
that's cool.
They made something in the modern age with Earthbound. So my hope is that we will get Mother 3 on at least in the Japanese side, and maybe Nintendo will like finally throw us a bone and work with the fan translators, because like Mother 3 it's in my like top 10 favorite games. Like that could be a movie, it could be a book. I know it's based on a book even as well, but
I played the fan translation like back in like 2009 or something.
Nice.
And I loved it. Grant, I would say like if you have a way to play it or find a way to play it, I recommend if you like Earthbound,
find something. I would say it's on my list.
I like it more than Earthbound.
In some ways, it is better, partially because of like quality of life improvements. Like you can run and there's like the menus are easier to kind of navigate and items and everything like that. But overall, it's a very good narrative.
One thing that I think a lot of those games really need that they didn't have back then, because you only have so much space. But like one thing that I think like benefits certain things is like when you hover over an item and it says like what that item does.
Yes.
When you don't have that, you're just like, I'm just never going to use anything. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
You got to have the player's guide on hand. Like, let me see. Where is that? You know?
Or like sometimes it'll say it, but then sometimes you're like in a battle and you're like, if I use this, will this do anything, or do I just throw it out? You know?
Yeah, like I played like Final Fantasy IX on Switch recently, and they had a function where like you could if you press minus and hover over anything, it would tell you what it was, even in battle. And I'm like, thank God, I'm not about to memorize.
That was like what I hated about playing Final Fantasy VII. That also contributed to just me being like, this is like doing like a labor of like fucking playing this, is because it's like I don't know what any of these item names are. This is totally different than every video game that I've played before because I'm not familiar with Final Fantasy. So like, you know, I have to Google every single thing. I'll just not. And then I didn't like it that much. It's too straightforward. I saw what was happening a mile away.
Yeah.
I knew Sephiroth, bad guy. I knew it was going to be him.
Yeah, I've heard that One Winged Angel song. I don't believe this is going anywhere good.
I didn't trust him. Sephiroth, bad guy. Yeah.
I saw that silvery hair. I was like, there's something weird about him.
Grant, you're 100% right about that.
Too young for white hair.
Any anime character with silver or white hair, they got some shit up their sleeves.
Julian Assange,
another anime villain.
Yep.
But I was gonna say, like, you know, as far as like adding Mother 3 to the, you know, the Switch Online, I have a hard time believing they will do that and then not charge for that specifically, because they know how high in demand it is. And I'm like, why not? Like I mentioned like earlier, like the remakes. I'm like, why not have the team that did Link's Awakening remakes, like do remakes of all those games, and they could sell Mother 3. People who play the original will buy this because it's new, and then people who didn't play it will play it because like, oh, I heard how much hype there was for this for so long. You know, that seems to be the best option. But if they do bring it to like, you know, Switch Online, that would be amazing, because it's a lot easier to play it on Switch than it is to like torrent it or however people do it. I don't know.
That's another thing too. I don't want to go through all the hoops and ladders of, if someone just gives me a thing with it, I'll go, okay, I'll do this. But
exactly.
It did feel like EarthBound and like EarthBound Beginnings were saved for like a rainy day for Nintendo too, where like they had already expended, or like they spent most of the quality games. Like they were mostly already on Nintendo Switch Online. Like I think one of the only ones we still don't have that people are begging for is like Super Mario RPG. Otherwise, a lot of like Konami and Capcom and Square are doing like all their own collections and everything. But so EarthBound was one of the final ones. So I could see like, I don't know, 2 years down the road when like they put out all of the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color games or whatever they want, putting it out there. But I like your idea though too of like a big team tackling it instead and making it different. Because there are some things in Mother 3 that like, I think it's a very honest game, and it says things that I think Nintendo would be kind of afraid to put out there.
I could see that.
Yeah. And so I'd be fine with them like re-releasing it, remastering it or remaking it and changing some elements to make it, make it comfy for them. You know, I think that sounds like the ultimate plan. Cause you're right. Like we already have Mother 3. We can play it. It's just not from Nintendo. And that does suck. Like it'd be nice I would love if Grant could just boot up his Switch and just play Mother 3 on it without having to ask any questions. Like I just want it to be easy.
I hate asking questions. I'll just be stubborn and I'll sit in silence and I'll just invent problems for myself.
And then we'll ask you how it was in the end, and you'll say, I saw that. I saw it.
Yeah, you know how I talk about media with the 30 episodes of Fire Bros we have under our belt, where I do poignant and valid.
Well, on those episodes, you're a little less difficult. You're more open to talk about.
What am I? Is it the sunglasses? Are you?
I think it might be. I think it might be.
You do.
Oh
look
my
a little,
God! Put them back on.
You are a little intimidating with the sunglasses. Like definitely you could have also been like a bouncer at a bar. I got to say, I'm not a fan of this.
An undercover criminal, an undercover thought criminal.
No, but I would say like Grant, I don't think I could handle it if you said that because like that. I'll be honest, that is like maybe one of the few times a video game has ever made me cry. Is the ending of Mother 3. God damn it, Grant.
Slime gave me enough shit for what did I say?
You said you cried during what was it? Everything Everywhere or like
no, because
it was over the garden wall.
Oh, really?
Maybe.
It was something
I don't know. I said something about cartoons, and then he was making fun of me for saying, "Oh, you're crying for cartoons," and I said, "No, it was like." I like teared up. It was like emotional, and he was
over the garden wall. Wearing that jump mask. To the top of my list now, if that's the case.
If you cover your face on this show, you're just opening yourself up for a brutal verbal beatdown.
Well, let's be honest, Grant. He was being a little bit difficult on that episode, just a little bit.
Oh, more so than me, who's just sharing my opinion once asked for.
You should never have done that.
He put on a pumpkin head and turned into a different character with a different name.
This episode feels very safe in comparison to a lot of other episodes, and not safe for
really.
not safe for the contestants. That's not what I mean. I just also called us game show.
That's pretty trite. I mean,
come on
especially
down.
when we had the format. Like the more traditional format of Thought Cops, which we just got rid of, but it felt game showy.
Come on down and spin the wheel.
Where did you get that? What is that for?
Well, we've had that for years.
We used to use this.
No, the monkey paws are bad, guys.
No, that's the point. It's a choose your own punishment thing.
There's a punishment for things we talk about on the show, and basically.
Now we don't really do punishments anymore. It's more of an ethereal.
That sounds worse.
It is.
It was worse. That's why we got rid of it.
So okay,
people didn't listen to us.
So you play tested it, and it was.
We play tested it for 5.5 years, and then we went. People don't like this show.
Yeah, we're like, oh boy, okay. I turned into Tugs on Collar for a second.
Right? Yeah.
Oh no, not that. I'm going to start doing that now, even though I haven't. It's the first time I've done an all episode. You can't see it though, but
it's a great bit. It plays very well with anybody.
Yeah,
it's universal.
I'll pocket that one.
But I wanted to ask you, speaking of like RPGs that are like about RPGs, have you played Yakuza 7 or Yakuza Like a Dragon?
No, but I was just so believe it or not, in my town, there was an EarthBound themed Smash Bros tournament that happened last weekend.
Interestingly specific.
Called Eugene Bound. This guy, Diego, and some of his friends put it on, and it was just all like, they had EarthBound like themed stuff at the event, and they even had like an EarthBound bracket where you could only play as Ness and Lucas. And I was talking with Diego at that, and he told me about it. That's Like a Dragon, right? Is 7?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he said like it's very inspired by EarthBound, and that was the first time I heard about it. So I'm all ears. I've not played it either though.
So I'm a huge fan of the Yakuza series. I've played all of them. I started with 0. I went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then just a couple months ago, I did start playing Yakuza 7. I held it off, like a little treat I was waiting for. And it was so amazing. Like the main character is in the narrative of the story, he is a fan of Dragon Quest.
Okay.
And then they name drop it many times. Like, oh, this is just like when the slimes would run away. And the funny thing, like he's like this Yakuza who he's like, when he's a young man, he goes to jail for 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. And he comes out of jail, and he's sort of this like kind of stunted man child who sees everything like it's a video game or an RPG. But it's sort of like because he was like, that's sort of his personality. But he's like, I missed out on so much of my life and so much of the world. And it's about all these people who kind of fall through the holes in society's safety net. And it's this lovable crew of misfits. You get like recruit like an ex-cop, a homeless guy, a lady hostess, and all these kind of there's just so much to love there. But it's a game. It's an RPG. It's a turn-based RPG where the main hero of the game is a fan of turn-based RPGs. And there's so many references and amazing things like that. But it's an amazing story, great characters. And I think I think you would like it if you I could see I didn't know it was inspired by EarthBound, but now that you mention it, I could definitely see it. I kept thinking Dragon Quest because they mentioned it, throughout the game.
Maybe I misheard too. Maybe he just said that I
could see it. No,
by RPGs too, but
I mean, the Earthbound ref, because it's like, again, like I wouldn't be surprised because the main character's like main weapon is a baseball bat now that I think about it. So
okay,
yeah.
I've seen that in marketing. Well, and that's the really weird connection too that I'm just now realizing is, like we talked earlier about how like back when it came out, people probably thought it was lame because it didn't have swords. And like, I definitely didn't care about Earthbound when I first heard about NES and Smash. And it was until years later that I like really gained an interest in it. I almost felt the same way about Yakuza 7, where like I saw it come out and I've seen tons of people screaming from rooftops about it, talking about how much they loved it. And I played Yakuza Kiwami, like the remake of the first one.
Yeah.
I really liked that, but I just didn't understand the appeal of 7, but maybe it's because of that similar feeling of like, you just have to play it to really get it. And maybe it's that I wanted something else in the modern age, like Earthbound has aged very well in the sense that it's so different than anything else back then. And maybe Yakuza 7 will be, I don't know how it'll be looked back at or how people will look back at it in the future, but maybe that's part of it is that it just is, does it feel very like human, I guess, in a sense too?
Like, big time. Yeah. There's like, when I said one of the very few moments where a game made me want to like cry, like Yakuza 7 had like a couple moments that were like, oh my God, this is like heartbreaking shit.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very, very good.
I have a question. Is the Yakuza still like exist in Japan?
Yeah. Oh,
I think so.
In real life?
So.
Yeah.
That's like a serious like thing over there.
To some point, to some extent, yeah.
What if there was like a video game series in America that was like Bloods v Crips?
Dude, I was like,
and it's a ragtag bunch of just some fun dudes that have wacky adventures and sometimes beat each other with baseball bats.
It's pretty wild that we have like a full series themed around these like mobsters that are actually probably really terrifying, but like
I've heard,
in
like,
America, we're just
things,
like, ooh, I love, I'm blanking on his name right now, like Kiryu or whatever. Yeah. Like, yeah. Oh, he's so sweet.
I've heard certain things like if you go to Italy, like don't make mafia jokes because the mafia's over there and people are like, the mafia killed my family. I just couldn't imagine being like, oh yeah, Yakuza, my favorite game, and everyone's like, oh yeah, me too.
Well, in
my
Japan,
cousin's in the Yakuza, but like
in Japan, it's called Like a Dragon, which maybe that's why.
Oh, it is really.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, and
I was gonna imagine like going into a shop there and like asking to see the Yakuza merchandise.
No.
They like take you into the back room or something. Yeah.
No, and they're also like,
I needed that clarification. Thank you.
They're super strict about tattoos and stuff because like, typically only Yakuza have tattoos in Japan. And I was like, somebody told me like, I might not be able to get into a fucking hot spring because I have this. Like, what kind of Yakuza am I going to be in? With this fucking Homer Simpson with a baseball bat.
Springfield has a pretty deadly crew,
Dude, there was an episode of The Simpsons where the Yakuza showed up. Flanders, his wife hires the Yakuza to fight against like Fat Tony's mob. It's amazing.
You could be in that episode.
But what was I gonna say? Grant,
that killed me though. That killed me.
Grant, to your point though about
is Nintendo releasing Bloods v Crips?
No, the game actually already does exist. It's for PlayStation 2 and it's called Sopranos Road to Respect.
Oh, that is a thing.
Yeah.
Have you played that?
No. It looks terrible.
I bought that as a gift for a buddy of mine that like loves movie games and like TV show stuff. I don't know how it is, but
all I know is I think you play as like an OC like to the Sopranos universe who works for the guys in Sopranos and they're just mean to you the whole time. Hey, you fucking piece of shit. Get over here, you cocksucker.
That's what I liked about the Tony Hawk's Underground games. You created a skater, and then it was like Bam Margera would like punch you in the dick or whatever, and you're like, yeah, this is what I want back.
This is my fantasy.
Yeah.
While your character is also wearing like a him sweater or something like that too.
Yeah. Dude, that game is like, I was streaming that on Kimono Friend Zone last year with Garrett and them. And I was like, this game is so, because like you said, Grant, you make up your character and they're just like, want to be friends with Tony Hawk. Dude, Tony Hawk's so cool. and they just talk about the characters.
Like, I don't know what friend group I want to be in. Do I want to be friends with Tony Hawk or do I want to be friends with Bam Margera and the Jackass guys?
Dude, there was a level.
They're like fighting over you.
There was a level in the game.
Oh yeah, because you get to like pick a crew in like Underground 2.
Yeah. Something like that.
You're on Bam or Tony Hawk's like side or something.
Yeah, there's like a story mode and like you go back and forth for some reason. And then I think the whole thing is just you're trying to like destroy the world because like dude, you try and grind up like the Eiffel Tower to like destroy it or some shit. And then you go to like New Orleans and like bring all the ghosts out of the graves and haunt the place and shit. Like it was, and you do like running of the bulls in Spain and shit. And it was just like, you destroy the world. You team up with Tony Hawk and you destroy the world.
Well, you're honestly not far off, Grant.
I know, I remember it.
No, there is a part where Bam Margera like hijacks a Russian tank. I'm not fucking making this up. Like, I actually even fact checked it here, and he says, tanks. Tank. Look at these tanks. Damn, look at these tanks. That's a quote from Bam Margera from Tony Hawk's Underground.
God, he's in
Russia.
There's a scene from the television show Viva La Bam, and I think I saw some episodes of it when I was younger, and it was on one of those like memories that like a repressed memory, and I saw a clip of it on YouTube, and it like brought me back to early 2002 of in Viva La Bam. They like borrowed like a pirate ship for like someone's birthday, and they were like, oh man, we gotta use these cannons, and they like lit off a cannon, and they did like a CGI cannonball came out of it, and then they were like, dude, the fucking Coast Guard's out after us, man. And like the Coast Guard planes were like flying towards the pirate ship, and it's like, did we really buy this back then? People were really into this shit.
It's just a different time to be alive.
World.
Yeah, for real. I just found out the other day Shrek is also a playable character in one of the Underground games, just to like pull it back to the
Shrek
that's
was
amazing.
Darth Maul.
I don't remember how I found that, but yeah, I knew about Darth Maul because was he in Pro Skater 3?
Yeah,
I think Wolverine was he like maybe he was
also in a bunch of
Spider-Man, but then just bam, Shrek.
That's amazing. I did not know that. No, Zion, I have one last Earthbound related question for you. I know we've been talking about this for a while.
Then we should get to voicemais. I think this is going to be a longer episode than usual. Yeah. But
one last question, fine, by the way, too. So
cool. This is something I've been wondering for a long time.
Oh,
Onet, Onit, Wonit. How do you pronounce it? The name or the name of the town where Ness lives.
So with a name like mine, where my name is pronounced Zion, it should be probably Zion. I've never really been like a real stickler of like how something should be pronounced. You know, like if someone wants to say Kyogre or Kyogre, they love Pokemon, so it's fine. But for me,
Pokemon is valid.
Damn it, Grant.
So I used to.
I win again.
Maybe it's the Midwest. I don't know. But when I started doing like YouTube full time, I got like just so much crap for saying Pokemon that I've retrained myself to say Pokemon.
I say it's wrong on purpose.
Dude, for real.
So I get those comments.
But then
I need every comment I can
see the TV goes like Pokemon, like in the commercial breaks or whatever, I think says that.
It's more like it's Pokemon because like there's the accent, the accent aigu over the A or the E rather.
I don't know if it's French.
It is.
I always
Pokemon.
And I've thought some people have said to say Pokemon. So it's like,
that's what I usually say.
Pokemon.
So I don't think there's a right or wrong to it. I've never said one at. When I heard that, I was like, what? Like, even though I'm over here talking about it.
Yeah.
And that does make sense. Yeah.
But phonetically, that doesn't, you would never say one at.
Exactly. I always said Onet.
Onet, yeah.
Same. Yeah, I like Onet as well, but Onet has always been what I think what I've said. But I don't know, maybe I retrained my brain again and just didn't realize it. I don't know, maybe someone scolded me, but...
Well, somebody in your documentary said Onet, and I'm like, oh shit, have I been saying it wrong the whole time?
Oh,
we need to get Noam Chomsky on the podcast. He's a linguistics professor.
He'll figure out how to pronounce the town names in Earthbound.
It'll take him 82 years to get a sentence out. That's mean. He's like 98 years old.
Come on, man.
Fun of him. That's fucked.
No,
just getting him on would be nice.
Speaking of weird, Speaking of comments, so I do want to read one quick. This is a really quick weird comment section. Weird comments.
It's my creation.
I got into a little bit of hot water with some. We put up a video with the Zwick episode.
So we've been doing this segment where we read the comments people have been leaving on our YouTube reels or shorts.
Yeah.
I like that.
We've been getting very bad reactions, and it's weird because it's almost sort of like fish out of water sort of thing, because we've been doing this podcast for a long time, and usually we get good reactions, but then when you clip it, you take it out of context, people look at that, they go, fuck you.
People like they don't know what's going on, right? Or something?
No, not at all. Sometimes they just say, I don't know what's going on. And then we say, listen to the episode. And they go, no.
Damn it, I thought that would work.
At least they take the time to say no, I guess.
They just want to argue.
That's fucking silver lining.
So I put up this like clip of us talking about like hippies and juggalos. And we were saying, like, we came to a conclusion that like juggalos are an offshoot of hippies, or perhaps like juggalos are like hippies evolved. Like if you give a hippie a Faygo
I was very
stone.
defiant on this, by the way, but
well, the clip we mentioned, that's what we talk about in it. And then we got a comment from somebody. Well, I don't want to just shout out their username, but if you go to the short, you can see it. They said, and this is a juggalo because he's got a Hatchet Man avatar. He says, "You don't know anything about us, so stop assuming. Everyone is different. Most of us actually do not wear clown paint. Learn more about things and research our culture before talking down on anyone." Okay, that's pretty well said, right? You know, I can't argue with that. We were just sort of riffing, and I thought it was a safe space because, you know, our guest, Zwick, is a juggalo. He said people do wear face paint. And in his words, he said that they were sweaty and stinky, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I remember seeing people wear face paint back like at, I've never went to like a show where ICP has played before, but I've seen people actively wear it before. So
exactly.
It's not like it's not like it doesn't happen. I would
exactly.
Right?
I think that this is also a difference in presentation too, because I took the same clip, I put this on TikTok. Mm-hmm. It got way less views, way less likes. I think it got like 14 likes on TikTok. Not one of our better ones. One of our better ones has been the Doug Walker one where he eats the cinnamon roll. But when I do the TikTok video, I put this little caption above Zwick. I said, idiot podcast guest thinks hippies and juggalos are basically the same thing. So maybe just to clarify, maybe if you add a little graphic, people will go,
yeah, I probably should.
He's a moron. Oh, I get it.
Oh, we're laughing at him, not with him. Okay.
Yeah, because they think that he's like part of the show, and like he is, but like people don't need to know that.
So then I responded to this guy in good faith. I said, well, we'd come hang out at the next gathering if there is one. And he responds, nah, we're good.
What?
Shut down. I was trying to break bread with this guy. Okay, you know what? We'll come. We'll check it out.
Maybe you tried to break Faygo.
I was like, you know, you say I don't research the culture. I'll go in there. I'll be among, you know, juggalo kind and see what's going on. And he just denied me. And I said, well, if you listen to the episode, you know that our guest himself is a juggalo, and he didn't respond.
He'll never respond. That's gone.
Such a good example of just somebody, like, I don't know, being upset for not at you, or just like just taking their anger out on somebody else, which, like, as people on the internet, which I know, you know, everybody is somebody online now. You just have to deal with so much garbage. And maybe that person was assuming you guys were being jerks, but to then like not like come back at what you said with some sort of respect, you know, that's like, why are you even saying anything then?
This is also not my first time trying to go to a gathering, because like years ago I did like, I worked for like a public access station in my hometown for a bit, and they would like lend me the cameras and mics and stuff to go film. Like if they were like, okay, you can film like whatever sketch comedy shit you want to film, as long as you like, you let us play it on our, you know, public access station, and you bleep out the swear words. So I could get press passes to go to stuff. And I got, I tried to get a press pass to go to the gathering of the Juggalos, and I emailed the guy. I sent him this very long, you know, I'm like, hi, I work for such and such station. I'm like trying to do this, you know. I was like basically just, you know, checking to see if that would be a possibility. And the guy would just like just some guy named Jason responded, and he's like, "We don't have any more passes," all lowercase. And I'm like, "Okay, well, I just sent an email back," and he's like, "We don't have passes." I'm like, "Okay, I don't know. I'm trying to learn here, and these people are shutting me out at every turn."
Did I ever tell the story on here about when I worked like my school office job at UIC, and I worked for maybe a half a year to a year for Hannibal Buress's sister, actually.
Yeah.
And it was before he was famous, and she was like, "Yeah, my brother's like a stand-up comedian. He lives in New York. He's done some writing jobs for like SNL and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, cool. Who's that?" And she's like, "His name's Hannibal." And I was like, "I don't know who that is." And she was like, "Yeah, I wanted to see him perform at this thing." And he was like, "No, don't come to this." And she was like, "It's called the Gathering of the Jugaloos or something." And I was like, "Oh, don't go to that." And that ended up being, I think, the same one where people pelted Tila Tequila with glass bottles.
Yeah. Don't think we were too far off on their assessment.
No, the Juggalos saw what was ahead. They saw what was coming, and they were probably back then they weren't right to do so, but like knowing what we know now, it's like, well,
they didn't know what we know now. They just wanted to throw things.
Yeah, that's fair.
Just like Andrew WK.
Yeah.
They threw fucking rocks at him. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's our weird comments section of the episode. Let's move on to some listener voicemails. 312-788-7361. Or you can always send us an audio file to thoughtcopspodcast@gmail.com. Let's have a listen.
Your guys' little tone thing is so cute. I love that. Hey, it's Spaghetti.
What?
I have a little 2 minutes of hate. It won't actually be 2 minutes.
He's talking about the voicemail thing.
You know how things work.
Hello.
I don't get why everybody that I know that has a Twitter account thinks that anybody gives a fuck about what they have to say about anything. I don't like everybody.
I'm just
thinks
hoping
that
people do so that people listen
some
to
kind of like
the show.
Activist or political pundit or something, and it's like it's not even like a whole bunch of people are saying shit that like I disagree with necessarily, because even the people who I do agree with like politically or whatever, I just want them still to shut the fuck up, because I can't keep watching people that I love and respect rot their fucking minds with a Bluebird app. I don't know. That's probably not that much of a hot take. I just feel like I need to say it to someone. Anyways, bye, fuckers. I love you.
All right.
Thank you.
Love you too, fucker.
But he just recently become a patron, and he's been sort of circling our fan base for a little bit of a while. So maybe he just started listening. Maybe that's why he's calling it.
Maybe after 5 years of being in the Discord, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I agree with everything you said.
I agree and I disagree. On to the next one.
People definitely need to have an outlet, but it does feel like sometimes people latch on to things like what's the term? It's like a bandwagoning. But I mean, people need to say stuff, and it's interesting how some people just cannot detach it. But
it's like a fine line, because I also watch these platforms just like get overwrought with like Nazis, and you would hope that if there's like a mainstream element to this, you would hope that like you see enough voices from both sides and people are receiving at least an equal amount of information if they're being like sort of like bombarded with all this shit anyways, that like you don't want it to all of a sudden become the wrong type of echo chamber. But at the same time, it's just like, yeah, not everybody needs to comment on everything at all times. And like your statement of this, like maybe it contributes in a way, but it's not the end all be all of like, I have the take that will make people stop,
right? Like fix everything. Right.
Yeah.
But
on to the next one.
Next voicemail.
Hello again, Kevin and Grant.
Hello.
I know you both miss me so desperately now that we have each other's numbers and have a bit of a correspondence going on.
This guy's a nice voice.
First of all, I just want to say, very proud that you went back immediately on your word and started representing Family Guy. Very, very happy about that. Secondly, for Mr. Nintendo, assuming I timed this voicemail right, I wanted to know, since you're the Nintendo insider, what's probably the most nefarious secret act the Nintendo ninjas have committed, if you're allowed to share that information? If there's some sort of MK Ultra of Nintendo, I'd be very intrigued to know what that would be. All right, thanks. Talk to me later. Talk to you later. Fuck.
This is how we got into this problem in the first place.
That's like us on the podcast.
Kevin, do you know what MK Ultra is?
I do, but I want to say really quick.
Okay.
So this is the guy who called in like a few weeks ago, and he said, "Call me back." So then I did on my personal cell phone.
I don't know why you did.
Well, after the fact, I was like, shit, I shouldn't have done that. This guy has my phone number now. He seems like a nice enough guy. Like Zion said, he's got a great voice. So I called him. He didn't answer. And then that episode came out. And later on that day, I got a text from a number that said, now that the episode is out, this call from Illinois makes much more sense. So we texted for a little bit. And yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, unfortunately, he's right. I did back down on my New Year's resolution of not ironically referencing Family Guy at all. I said I would stop because I wanted to challenge myself as an artist. I wanted to do something different, something that I don't.
It doesn't help that we also constantly dangle it in front of you. Like, you know, if you're a recovering alcoholic, it's not like we're going to be popping beers in front of your face, you know.
I mean, it basically is that, you know, I'm still in remission, and you guys are
remission.
Recovery, something.
Yeah.
And
I don't have any secret, you know, like that's the funniest thing. And like, it's annoying sometimes, but I should never be mad about it. Cause it just gets old, you know, but people think that like we talk to Nintendo and we know all the juicy stuff, and or worse, people think that like we're paid by Nintendo. And we're not. Like if we were, we do sponsored content, and that's when we tell people, you know, or that's when we're paid by companies.
Yeah. That's when you disclose it.
Yeah, exactly. We're still honest in that anyways, but the thing that I am upset at Nintendo for is the Mario 3D World thing. Like when they or the 3D All-Stars collection.
Yeah, super lame.
Yeah, when they released that and then they Disney vaulted it. Like that is just a really bad trend, and I will just never forgive Nintendo for that. It's such like I feel so like stupid being like, I'll never forgive you, but it's very like anti-consumer, and it's stretching into like a territory that it makes me uncomfortable. So I don't know. I hate that. Does that count?
That counts. Whatever.
And I think like, the Nintendo Ninjas thing, I think that's when like somebody like, hacks their database, or like, you know, is sharing their like emulators and ROMs and stuff like that. And then they have people like, you know, whatever, look into it, and they're called them.
I mean, I suppose that sucks. Like, cause Sega is so cool about like letting anyone make anything Sonic related, but then Nintendo's like, oh, you want to make a Metroid remake for fun? Like, no, you can't do that now. Sorry, kid.
Well, I think Sega knows about all the fan art, and there's no way we're controlling this. And they're just like, dude, you do whatever you want. Leave us out of it.
They like put up a wall, and then it immediately got like knocked down, and they were just like, yep.
Dude, they put up like the official Sonic the Hedgehog Twitter, like last week, put up this bizarre post, and it was this joke. It was like, it was a picture of Tails next to two jars, and one said swear jar.
Yeah.
And it was like empty. And the other jar was like filled with rings and emeralds and stuff. And it was like jar for a number of times we've seen fan art we wish we didn't see.
Yeah.
And it was just so weird to see them like acknowledge that like they've most definitely seen like Vor.
They're reverse Streisand affecting it. They're going, hey, we don't care. Go ahead.
You are supposed to be like 13 years or older to have a Twitter account. So maybe that's where like their mentality is like, oh, like only teenagers and adults are going to see this anyways, and whatever. Yeah. But you're right. Like if Nintendo did something like that, I don't.
Can you imagine?
Right. Yeah. I can't. No, actually, I can't. You're absolutely right.
It would break my mind. It would actually make me sad. It would make me sad if I knew Mario was like looking at like porn of himself.
Oh no! He dies.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Only to be brought back by his coins. Speaking of being brought back, let's play this next one.
I also, before you play this next one, I want to shout out, I'll send this video to you guys actually, because I'm really proud of it. I buried a plush toy of Mario, like during the time when the All-Stars collection got pulled and like the Mario, what was it? The Mario versus game Mario. Oh my gosh. The Mario 90. It wasn't 99. What was it called? Oh God. I don't remember.
Oh, Mario 35.
35. I was like, Mario 30. That doesn't seem right. But yeah, 35. Thank you. When that happened, I did this like crazy dramatic video of like me, like the first 10 seconds is like just a field. And I like carry this like bag up to this field and I just bury something. And then I finally reveal it's Mario at the end. So speaking of Mario dying, I'm just very proud of that stupid thing. So yeah,
that is exactly how it happened too. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I wore like a suit with a Mario pin as well. Like I was like an executive at Nintendo, like just doing the deed late at night when no one was looking. Yeah. Yeah. That was it.
Damn. Well, somehow he's kicking. Like Grant said, it's those damn coins.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Let's hit this next voicemail.
Hello again, Kevin and Grant. I know you both.
Nope. I hit the wrong button. Okay.
Oh, crap.
When he said hello again, I was like, oh,
hello again.
I believed it.
All right. Taking back from here.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Grant. It's Martin. Just had to call in to thank you all again for having me on last week.
Hello.
Got to ask my
thank you for
Nintendo
coming
question to Xeon. Now that we have Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games as part of Switch Online service, and we're going to have Kirby's Tilt and Tumble coming down the line, do you think we're going to get any other games, like where weird gimmicks were built into the carts? Like, do you think we'll get like WarioWare Twisted, because that has the same kind of gyroscope gimmick? Or, I don't know, put something in there, do the solar sensor from Boktai or something, do that with the IR camera. Oh man, I want those games. Anyway, hope you boys are doing well. Thanks for doing what you do. Bye.
Oh, thank you.
I love where Martin's at, because I legit, yesterday, I was thinking in the shower about Boktai and the solar sensor. Was like, do you think Konami would ever, like, we don't get weird accessories for the Switch.
Wait, real quick, do you often think about Boktai in the shower?
It's come up a few times. I have a few Boktai videos, I have a video that I want to do about the game at some point, so it comes up. You know,
is that a Kojima game?
Yeah, he at least produced it, which I know that's kind of like a gray area. Like I don't know really what his impact was.
Sure,
but yeah, he produced the first and second one, and then there's a third one in Japan that never came out. So like it'd be crazy if they re-release those, or if they found a way to use the IR sensor. But yeah, I definitely think we'll get like WarioWare Twisted, since we have the motion controls now. Maybe we'll get Drill Dozer, and maybe it'll use HD Rumble in the Switch. And I think there's even I have it on the shelf, Yoshi Topsy Turvy, as well as another motion game for Game Boy Advance. So yeah, I think Tilt and Tumble is a really good example of Nintendo like trying to pull cool things out of their backlog, and I bet we'll see more of that.
And our friend Martin, for the record, he collects Game Boy cameras.
No way.
So
why?
Like he orders a bunch from Japan, and it's so funny, like the shit that he's shown us that's on these cameras from like kids in Japan in like 1998. It's just like the fucking like
dude, does he make videos? Martin, you should make like a video where you just show off like everything that's on these things.
He should.
You should.
Like it'd be like opening booster packs up, and like I don't know. That sounds super fun.
Like an unwrap video.
Yeah. Unwrap videos do so well on the internet if you do them right.
But to be fair, some of the content on there is just there's a lot of weird stuff on there. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
So maybe it's not all
like they arrived with weird stuff, or Martin put weird stuff on them.
Well, Martin says they arrived with, people taking pictures of magazines that they're not supposed to have. I'll just say that.
Magazines.
Could you imagine taking a picture like you're in a store and you're like, man, I got to remember this for when I get home. Yeah. Like you're plagiarizing a magazine with a Game Boy camera.
You can barely tell what it is.
Right.
Let's hit this next voicemail though.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Grant. Hey, sound guy. It's Max Race for the fan of Garrett Hunter. I've been watching
Max Racer, fan of Garrett Hunter.
And they recently played Bowser's Fury. I was wondering whether you could talk about the game design and what you thought was good about it. Of Bowser's Fury. Thought cops are cool. Damn.
Hell yeah. Very strong ending on that one.
Yeah, it was very clear and to the point. I liked that.
Thought cops are cool. Damn.
That's true, yeah. That should be our tagline. We should put that it's the slogan.
Yeah, a quote like on the front of the box, you know.
Yeah.
Thought cops are cool. ... Damn.
I have that cup, Kevin, that every time you're here, you pick out the coffee cup that says Krakow is cool, and it's the little green dragon. And
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Up. I still own it. I've owned it since our family trip to Poland in 1994.
It's a good cup.
It's very etched, but I haven't played. I've played a very, very small amount of Bowser's Fury. I actually do want to go through and like actually give it the old college try.
Zion, what do you think?
I've maybe played more Balan Wonderworld than Bowser's Fury as well. And it's not, I know that's awful to say out loud, now that I'm, but hey, like you said, we try to be unbiased and honest. So,
fair enough.
It's one of those that like, I'm hoping to spend a real solid, just like one night with it. Cause I've heard it's short enough, but have you played it all the way to the end? I have. Yeah. I know. Grant, you were talking to me, like you and your girlfriend were playing co-op.
For Bowser's Fury.
For Bowser's Fury, yeah.
Yeah. Because we were doing it for the one that it's attached to, the 3D world or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then we tried Bowser's Fury, and I was like, "Oh, this is stupid. Let's not do this." And then we stopped doing it, and then we didn't play it.
I can't speak to the co-op for it, but
I mean, it's bad. It's just like the Galaxy co-op where you just get the little pointer and you just point at things, and you're like, "Why would I do this?"
Because like I play the single player mode, and man, I fucking love it.
Yeah, I need to do that.
It was like it's a miniature open world game. It's like there's little Mario 3D platforming levels, but you have to sail around this like sea to get to them, and there's different things and stuff to find, and then the giant Bowser that appears
Mario
in the middle.
Wind Waker.
Honestly, it did feel a little bit like that in the best way possible, and it was like I really hope that whatever next mainline Mario game they choose to make, that this is like a blueprint for what they end up doing, because it felt like very Odyssey inspired. It was like a very, very big Odyssey level, and that was it, but it was like almost like within that big level, there's a bunch of small little things, but they're interconnected and you can get power-ups and do stuff. I don't know if either of you played Sonic Adventure, but I love that game. And I know that's kind of a sin in its own right. But I think people have come around on it more over the years.
I think people have come around. It seems to be.
I love that that they copied the final fight from Sonic Adventure as the big boss fights in Bowser's Fury, though, where like Sonic goes supersonic and then he fights this giant creature in the sea. It's basically the same thing, right? From what I've seen, but I haven't played Bowser's Fury, so I should actually no. I didn't even think about that, but you are 100% correct. It is pretty similar. I highly recommend giving it a go.
Predictable.
Oh, Grant. Well, it's Mario though. Like, don't you want to see Mario go Super Saiyan? Like, it's something I never thought would.
His mustache turns blonde.
I mean, I can guarantee.
I've only seen him from the back.
No, it's just a cat suit turns into like a giant lion. But I was going to say, I can guarantee if you Google Super Saiyan Mario, you'll have no shortage of amazing pictures to look at. But that being said, Grant, was that the last voicemail?
Yeah.
Was that 4 or 3?
That was 4.
Okay. 312-788-7361, or send us an audio file to thoughtcopspodcast@gmail.com. Zion, where can people find you and Nintendo Life and everything you have online? Sure. By the way, I'd just like to confirm, Mario, yeah, you're right. His mustache does not change to gold or yellow at all. It is just, it's matte black still. Bullshit. It's all right. The next game, right? But people can find me. Please. I use Zion Dude, spelled ZIONDOOD, on all my socials. But I make videos Monday through Friday for Nintendo Life. So you can go find the EarthBound documentary that I made. The Mother We Share is just right on there. It's a full hour-long documentary for free. We do a lot of reviews, and we'll do discussions and weird stuff whenever we have the time. And we try to keep it fun there and just and straight and to the point, because we just like games. And I'm so glad and thankful that you see that about us too. Cause that's, we're just trying to do weird stuff, but still also just tell it like it is. Yeah,
it's your creation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, we just want to have fun and just it's video games at the end of the day. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's just, because sometimes it's fun. Like I watch something and I'm like, I want to hear what somebody else has to say about this, so you guys do a good job of that for sure.
Thanks,
Not
man.
me. I come up with my own thoughts and interpretations on the media that I consume.
Well, some people like to discuss the endings of video games with others once they've gotten there.
I'm totally with that. I'm saying that I don't do that before I arrive at my conclusions.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, just clarifying.
Well, I'm sure we'll pick this up in the next episode, no doubt, Grant. But in the meantime, if you want to support the show, get a backlog of bonus content, and be a part of the episode, head on over to patreon.com/thoughtcops. I want to give a shout out to our newest patron this week, Rye.
Ooh, Rye.
Thank you, Rye. Zion, thank you so much for doing the show. Thank you for sticking around. I know this is a long one. Thank you guys for listening to the end. And we'll see you on the other side. Thought Cops. It's good.
I was like, is this where I get shot?
See you on the other side. This is where we shoot the audience.
This is vaguely threatening. I don't know why I do this.
Yeah, you do that you point a gun at the camera and say, see you on the other side. And every episode I go, are you sure you want to end the episode that way? And you go, absolutely.
I'll see you on the other side.
And Zion is running away.
Oh shit.
And grabbing
he's got the super scope.
Yeah, the super scope. I forgot.
Ness made me do it.
All right, we're outmatched here, Grant. We're gonna have to cut the recording and cut our losses.
See, this is
this gun looks massive like this.
This is the action figure portion of the show, and then next episode we'll get to the light up shoes portion.
You really will not let that comment go. They got under your skin.
No, I genuinely like it. I like that as a criticism of the show. Next time someone asks, what is Thought Cops about? I'm going to say it's about action figures and light up shoes.
I mean, Anamanaguchi pulls it off really well. That like the band that did the Scott Pilgrim video game soundtrack. They tell everybody that their band is an amalgamation of their favorite brands when it just isn't at all. And that shtick is like, it's so funny. I don't know. I dig it.
I'm going to get some light up shoes for real. Thanks guys for listening. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.